after tonight. You don't have to look up at the stars. No, 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 no. I know.
Take a look at my dream world.
Tonight. You don't have to look up at the stars.
Chat. If you wanna come get it, then come for it. I'm so clean, my kick's nice. I'm Chuck Norris. Minute made the beat bounce, had to jump on it. Run for it, run. Gump Forrest Gump like hollow pumps. You gotta jump. No trouble, no double. I got a stun. You don't have to look up at the stars. Make one wish, you're looking at a star. Swag so fresh, you can put it in the jar. And the way I change gear, you can put me in the car. I remember when me and Seif used to sneak in every concert door. Now I got my feet in. Every day is Get Friday, no weekend.
You don't have to look up at the stars.
Welcome back to your favorite live sports show, everyone. This is indeed #this Justin, not this Justin of ESPN, but the original best show ever. I do to Adam because he is, part of the crew now. He is here full time, no matter what he says. I will reintroduce you to indeed. First off, welcome back, Tomas Vertuccio, otherwise known as TV on Basketball. Once we're talking basketball, we have to bring TV on. What's going on, my guy?
It's been good, man. NBA season starting tomorrow, so we're super excited. Tipping it off. It's going to be a really good season, guys. Let's go.
Let's go. And it feels like it has been years now. One of my first guests, Jansen Harris. Jansen, welcome back. You've been doing some great stuff, especially when you preview or look back in the past on old-time NFL and NBA players. How's it been going, Jansen?
It's good. Look, I'm happy to be on. Well overdue. I know you've been asking me, and the schedule's been going here and there, but Justin, you've been doing your thing. Adam, you know how I feel about you. So I'm happy to be on, man. I'm happy to talk some basketball. Probably not looking too good for my Knicks personally, but I'm glad we're not talking about that. That's a good thing.
Any New York, did they? Yeah, well, at least one sports team I did not put on. So they're not in the first title or the first segment because the first segment is dealing with title favorites. So, TV, I'm going to start with you because you are the biggest Raptors fan I know, but I'm sure you're not going to mention them right now. Who are your title favorites for the 2022-2023 NBA season?
Well, Justin, the thing about this season and title favorites, I honestly can make a case for plenty of different teams right now. But now with the off-court stuff going on with your Phoenix Suns, I don't know, we're going to talk about them a bit later. The Clippers, they have a chance there, but I also believe that that the Clippers might end up clippering, how they do year in, year out. But for me, there's three title favorites here. We have the Milwaukee Bucks, we have the Golden State Warriors, and we have the Boston Celtics. I know we're gonna talk about the Boston Celtics later, so I'm gonna talk more about the Bucks and the Warriors. The Bucks last year, unfortunate with the Chris Middleton injury, he was unable to compete versus the Miami Heat, but they were still only one game away from the Eastern Conference Finals. So them being healthy, I mean, you still have to wait a couple weeks for Chris Middleton, but I believe that they're still one of the best teams in the league, especially when you have Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, that's self-explanatory enough. You have the best player in the league with Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, hopefully a full season of Brook Lopez, because people forget he only played 12 regular season games last season. You have that roster who we know can go to the finals and win a championship as they did 2 years ago. Running it back, they're still as good as ever. I believe they're one of the title favorites. And of course, the Golden State Warriors. And, they had the thing with Draymond Green and Jordan Poole, the whole practice incident that everyone was talking about. But I honestly believe they're going to move past that. They know what it takes to win a championship. They're going to end up I think this is going to end up maybe bonding them more together, try to fight for the ultimate goal. And now that you have Jordan Poole locked up with the new contract, Andrew Wiggins, a lot of things that you had to deal with in the offseason are kind of minimized now. Now you have basically a full roster. Hopefully you get more James Wiseman minutes as well. We're going to see some more of him at the center position this year. But these guys know how to win. Everyone basically on our roster knows what it takes to win a championship. They have to be one of the favorites, especially having one of the best players in the world as well, and Steph Curry. And then the Boston Celtics, they have some drama, which we're going to discuss a bit later. But I believe they still have a roster built to win a championship. And I think the addition of Malcolm Brogdon under the radar, I think he's going to be an excellent piece for them, especially at the end of games, coming off the bench. That current roster you have right now, the only really issue you have to deal with is hopefully you get Robert Williams healthy in the next 12 to 16 weeks, as that's the injury timetable for him. So, you have a lot of great teams there, but I think those are the three real title favorites.
Adam, same question. And I know you and Jansen are big Atlanta people, so I don't expect to hear the Hawks on this segment. But who are your title favorites this season?
Yeah, absolutely. So TV hit some great ones there. Obviously, the Golden State Warriors, we see what they did. They looked absolutely great in these NBA playoffs and going on to win the finals. The Bucks as well hit the nail on the head. We know Giannis was there. Excuse me. We know the tear that he's had. And really, when that team has Chris Middleton, they're completely different. And I think if they did have him last year, we're really talking about a different outcome of the NBA season. But things happen. You have to move on, and it's all about getting healthy at the right time. I was kind of shocked, TV, and I don't believe I heard you say these folks, but instead of the Boston Celtics, because we're going to get into the Ime Udoka stuff later, I think he was a big catalyst to why they had that success last year. I'm going to replace them with the Miami Heat because we cannot forget what this team has done the last couple of years, how they played so effectively. They do have the sixth man of the year. I would believe that Jimmy Butler would look to come around and get more healthy as the season gets closer and be ready to go. Not that he's being held back necessarily, but we can't forget about those Miami Heat as well. We know we got a really great guy over there. Not we, but they have a great guy over there in Eric Spoelstra. And we know the culture. We know how they play that really hard defensive basketball. They love to really take it edge to edge on the court and just really make you work series in and series out against that type of team. I also am going to, as maybe a slight title favorite these last two here, you like to have a little fun with the segment. I can't not talk about the Atlanta Hawks. You got DeJounte Murray. You got Trae Young. We have all the other players that are inside of the system. And with Trae finally getting his two, I'm not going to say this is a lock to even go to the second or third round, let alone get to the actual, NBA finals and be true contenders. But this is a team to keep your eye on. And kind of like what TV was saying earlier, you can look in so many directions in the NBA. There's so much talent left and right. And the fact that we've had so much happening in this offseason, we've had so many storylines, actual trades, kind of scuffles in a way happening throughout these teams. But the Atlanta Hawks really do feel like a team that if they get healthy at the right time, if they're coached correctly, you can't deny what they have on paper. They play some defense. I think they can be in a good spot. And then we can't forget about John Morant and his Grizzlies as well. The Grizzlies played really well last year. Obviously, we saw the seeding that they placed in, but they're still very young. So I wouldn't like to say that they are for real title contenders. Like I mentioned, these last two are going to be kind of fringe. Maybe they get healthy at the right time. The coaching starts to hit at the right time. But on paper, you look at the Hawks and the Grizzlies, you can't deny what they bring to the table. But I think the three locks are the Bucks, the Golden Warriors, and I'm still hanging on to those Miami Heat.
I haven't heard the Brooklyn Nets call here, so maybe Jansen might feel differently. Go ahead. Give me your.
Justin, you read my mind. My finals pick next year. This was going to happen, and again, both teams need to stay healthy. They stay healthy. It's going to be the Nets versus the Lakers. I know some people are saying the Lakers. You got to be kidding me. Russell Westbrook has been struggling, but I'm telling you, they're going to get it together. They're going to get it right. I believe in the Lakers. Of course, the Warriors, they're up there, right? That's to me the biggest threat to the Lakers. Obviously, they won the championship last year. On paper, they're the favorites. Odds on favorites depending on Vegas. And I don't really know all the DraftKings and all that stuff, but you guys get the point. When you see the favorites in the Western Conference, it's looking like the Warriors. And on many, it's the Lakers in fourth. But I believe the Lakers will get to the finals. They'll play the Nets. I think Kyrie Irving is zoned in. I think Ben Simmons, he's going to play with that chip on his shoulder. Now, like the role players, Joe Harris, Cam Thomas, watch out for him. If he stays healthy, he's going to continue to grow as a player. So for me, I have the Nets and the Lakers. It's not going to be sexy in the East. It's going to be tough. So the Nets are probably going to have to go 7 games with teams, as you mentioned, Adam, in Miami or the Bucks. That's another team that's a threat to this. So I'm not saying it's going to be clean. But to me, I think it's going to be the Nets versus the Lakers.
I did not see that coming. I only threw the Nets out there as a joke. But
and I know people don't think I'm crazy about that Lakers pick, but I'm telling you, new coach in town, LeBron's going to be focused. If AD can stay healthy for me, that's going to be huge.
You're not crazy for the take, man. I mean, again, what they've got on there, the Nets, I don't know. They're a big question mark. They can win 65 games. They can win 35 games. You don't know.
Well, up the gun, folks, because both of these teams, we have segments individually coming up. I'll say this. Y'all know I'm a Debbie Downer. So I'm just going to lock on 2 teams. So let me start with the fringe ones. If the Clippers can, reach their potential, I don't know there is a team deeper than the Clippers in the league right now in just terms of pure depth. Thankfully, thank you, Adam, for bringing up the Miami Heat because that kind of blew past me. But I think they're one superstar away from truly contending. Then the Philadelphia 76ers, if Joel Embiid is fully healthy, James Harden is locked in, this is a team that you really shouldn't look past. I pushed back on the Boston Celtics for a bit, but I can understand why. But really, guys, for me, it's a two-horse race. You have to start with defending champions, of course. And this team is extremely deep, having locked in now Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins on those two extensions. The only reason I don't have them as my 1A, I know TV tried to look past that punch in the. I can't. I cannot. Because if it was me that received that punch, I can tell you it would be on site. Every single day I see Draymond his fist. Like we're going at it every time. And I think the only thing that probably makes Jordan Poole feel a lot better is that extension and the fact that Draymond Green probably will not get one from the Warriors, and he's going to have to look for something or his money from some other team. And that's the next reason I don't want to look at the Warriors, because this team without Draymond Green last season was 19-17. And I think that Draymond not getting his money this season is going to be a source of contention. And when you get past Steph Curry, I think he is the second most important player on this team because of what he brings on the defensive end. And on top of that, he is this team's de facto point guard. He is this team's playmaker. So that's what I'm going to say 1B. And the 1A have to be, I'm in Wisconsin, so I have to say it. It's the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, TV mentioned it. Giannis Antetokounmpo easily is the best player in the league right now. And were it not for Chris Middleton's injury, we're probably talking about repeat champs.
Yep.
And for those who think that the Golden State Warriors probably beat them too, since this Steph Curry dynasty run, the one team with a winning record through that entire run against the Golden State Warriors happens to be the Milwaukee Bucks. I honestly like them in a 7-game series against Golden State Warriors. This is a team, not exactly like a championship team, but you have two All-Stars in Drew Holiday. Chris Middleton is a very good defensive team. Brook Lopez is an exceptional rim protector and spaces the floor for Giannis. They space the floor at every single position so that Giannis doesn't have to shoot threes and can play his basketball. I'm not a fan of Coach Budenholzer, but he's won a title, so I have to respect him. I think the Milwaukee Bucks, for me, are my 1A, and 1B, Golden State Warriors. But as I mentioned the Golden State Warriors, and this time I'm going to start with you now, Jansen Harris. I mentioned it. We kind of scoffed over it. There was that punch in practice that we all see Draymond Green. For whatever I think is contract related, there was a dust-up. He called clock Jordan Poole, and there was really no discipline except for fine, if my memory serves me right.
Yep.
Jansen, do you agree with how the Warriors handle this situation, or should they have suspended or looked to trade Draymond Green?
Guys, excuse me for being loud, but yes, to me it was disgusting seeing Draymond Green not suspended. Should have been suspended at least 20 games. When you're a team, man, or you work with people and you're a close-knit group, you can't do things like that. Adam, at one point, we were a team. We never really got in any arguments, I'm going to be honest. But if we did, I can't just be punching you right in the mouth and then, oh, all is good, man. I just decked you like that. It was a cheap shot. He should have been suspended. That's being unprofessional. You're a grown man who's making millions of dollars. Trust me, it could be worse, bro. It could be worse. I just don't get it. It should have been a push after a push, maybe some talking back and forth. But to hit the man in the mouth like that, that was some Tank Davis stuff. I don't know if you guys watch boxing, but look up Tank Davis. You'll see what I'm talking about. But that was just disgusting. Golden State as an organization, they should be ashamed of themselves. Draymond Green, you acted like a kid. You don't do that to your teammate. I am glad my boy Jordan Poole got his money. He should sue him too. I'd be that petty because it was crazy. Or challenge him to a one-on-one boxing match.
Celebrity boxing.
It was shocking. And I'm like, wow. Direct hit. Draymond, no, it looks like he's been taking some boxing classes because that was a direct hit right on the chin.
Yeah.
Nice knockout punch, but disgusting.
I see a reaction TV, so I'm going to let you jump in here now. Did the Warriors handle this right? Suspension, trade, what should they have done?
Well, let's be honest. This really shouldn't have come out in the first place. And look, the thing is, like, we hear this from other players. We hear this from other organizations as well. this type of stuff happens in other organizations. The only thing is it's behind closed doors. Yes, there'll be arguments coming this and that. We don't know if it got to the point. I mean, like Jansen said, it was basically a sucker punch. He knocked Jordan Poole completely out. But it should have been held closed doors. Whoever sold that footage, I mean, like shit, like they must be really down bad if they're trying to sell that footage for apparently $10,000. But wait, yeah,
How do you sell that footage for less than $10,000? Like how?
exactly. I don't know, like this is someone in the organization too. That's this is someone within the organization too. But back to the point, like I think like even though like, the suspending of Draymond, I think it already happened if we really do think about it. I mean, he was away from the team from like 4 or 5 days. I think that's the Warriors' way of saying it's a secret suspension. And honestly, I think they handled this okay, mostly due to the fact if they did suspend Draymond Green on their ring night, I think that was just gonna, create some more talk going into the season. It's gonna like at least what they did here was they kind of pushed it away and made this a preseason problem, and they can kind of start fresh new slate here in the regular season. If they did suspend him, especially on ring night, that's going to cause a lot more headlines, a lot more talk, and unnecessary drama for a Golden State Warriors team who wants to kind of block all that out and focus on winning a championship. And look, everyone in the organization has handled it completely perfectly. Draymond Green did what he said. He apologized at the podium. And Jordan Poole has been nothing but professional throughout this entire process. I think either way, I forgot who said this on a podcast episode, but you're not going to like all of the people you work with. Maybe there's something there between Jordan and Draymond Green, but if the one goal is still being met, trying to win an NBA championship, they can move past this. They already dealt with it in the preseason. They don't need to carry this over into the regular season. Enjoy ring night. I think that's going to continue to bond these guys together and trying to win another championship, put another banner up there in the Chase Center. I think they handled it well and just not making it a more of a problem coming into the regular season. I know people are going to talk about, Jordan Poole got his contract, what's going to happen with Draymond? But at least they took another thing off the table, which I do commend the Warriors for. They've been a professional organization for like the past like decade or so. So I expect nothing less going forward for them.
Of course.
Adam, I love your pink shirt, but right now I'm asking you to put on your Bob Myers polo shirt. What would you do with Draymond?
So Draymond, yeah, I definitely would have served a suspension because I really wanted to make an example. I would want to make an example out of absolutely unacceptable behavior. Everybody has said how disrespectful and just disgusting it was because, people always say, and we take NFL quarterbacks for an example, you really understand someone's character when they're pissed and their back is against the wall. How are they going to act? Is it a fight or flight? How do they approach the situation? Are they going to panic and let all their common sense go out the window like Draymond Green did when he saw red and punched Jordan Poole? Or do you have a conversation with your teammates? You talk to people that could possibly be involved and you get through this type of stuff? Because I think TV, you said it, or one of you guys had said it. The fact that he has to now approach Draymond, be cool with the fact that he got a cheap shot on him, and you don't necessarily want to hold grudges, championship team. Jordan Poole's an emerging star. He just got his payday, 19 and 17, like you said, Justin, without Draymond. So clearly, this is kind of a thin line and a sticky situation to be in. But when you take a look at the fact that you do have to make an example out of this because you cannot let this be a thing. TV, you said it as well. It's a very professionally ran organization. Shout out to Jordan Poole for having all the respect and, the couth that he actually does at the podium in practice, because I'm sure it's hard. I'm sure he wants it to be on site. I'm sure he wants it to potentially be a boxing match, but he's also, again, we're seeing how Jordan Poole is reacting being in the spotlight as the victim versus how Draymond Green acted when he was irritated in the moment with Jordan Poole. And I think that's just really a reflection of both guys' characters. But I was shocked by Draymond, but I wasn't at the same time because, Draymond is this chippy kind of guy. He is a dude that's going to jaw in your ear. He is a dude that's going to antagonize. He's going to amp it up. He's going to really try to play those mind games with you. It's just unfortunate that it had to be Jordan Poole. And when I actually realized whoa, this was the Jordan Poole that emerged this year for GSW that just got smacked by Draymond, it was just horrible to see. They got to work on the bond. They got to be better than that. I'll be honest, guys. I've never been into fights because I don't think fighting solves anything. I'm about communication. I'm about talking about the problem and how can we focus on the solution rather than what's already happened, because the damage is going to be there. How can Poole and now go forward, be teammates, chase another title, and keep the BS out of the locker room more than anything, because we know noise in any sport definitely likes to travel.
So all of you are right in one form or another, right? like these things happen all the time. But like TV said, they just don't get out.
Right.
And I think the biggest culprit is the guy who filmed this and sold it for just less than $10,000. Like he deserves for not getting at least $100,000 out of that video. Like that just for that. So let me say this. If y'all thought that Jansen was bad here, hold my beer for a second. Because I would indefinitely suspend Draymond and then look to trade him. And do you know why? The reason I do this is that time and time again, the Warriors have allowed or basically encouraged Draymond Green's behavior by not laying down the letter of the law. Now, I will say what he does and the edge and the chippiness that he brings is very vital to this team, because no other player on that team is quite like him. But we've seen this guy continually disrespect Steve Kerr. We saw this guy chase Kevin Durant out of town. So now he's punching teammates over a contract situation. And the reason why I would indefinitely suspend and trade him is because this is not going to get any better. I have a funny feeling the Warriors are not going to pay Draymond, and this is the last we are seeing Draymond in Warriors colors. This can be bad, ugly, very, very fast, because everyone around Draymond has been paid but Draymond. And Draymond has the right to feel like I am the most, if not at least the second most essential part of this equation. I just gave you all last season's record when he's not there. I've talked about what he means on defensive end. He is their playmaker. And a little unknown fact, this team only started becoming the Warriors dynasty the moment that Draymond Green became or was inserted into the starting lineup. Like they were going to start David Lee. David Lee got injured, and every single assistant coach told Steve Kerr coming in, this team is better when Draymond is playing. The moment that Draymond Green gets into the starting lineup is when they start winning titles. So the Warriors are, in fact, well aware of how important he is to their success.
Yep.
The problem is that they have entitled him because of that. This season, without him getting his money, I can see this going all hella bad.
Yeah.
And I know the Warriors are afraid of, playing this season without Draymond, but I'd have to do it because you basically entitled this guy with bad behavior over and over. And I didn't even mention the kick that cost Golden State a fifth title, because I have to believe if he doesn't kick at LeBron James' groin, we're talking about back-to-back championships for Golden State. Was what, the 2016 season? Like, some way, somehow, somebody has to tell Draymond, your continued inability to keep your emotions in check, well, that's good sometimes on the floor, you are starting to cost us. You cost us Kevin Durant. You cost us a stable locker room with Jordan Poole.
Yep.
I definitely suspend him and trade him, because he could be a problem going forward when he doesn't get his money.
Yep.
I do have to say something about that, though. Like, you talked about how the Warriors have been so kind of lenient on his behavior. I mean, take any other organization. I mean, does Draymond Green think he'll get this leeway with any other organization in the NBA? The Warriors have to deal with this for the past decade, and they let him be him, do his thing, and even to this point, they haven't really done anything crazy to punish him or anything. Him going to another team, him adding this behavior, is just gonna he needs to play good soldier at this point, in my opinion, or else he's not going to get the money he wants to get, because he's not getting that money anywhere else but Golden State.
Nope.
Because Golden State's the only team that values him to say the way that he thinks he's valued.
Yep.
Every other team is going to see this and do we want this in the locker room? Do we want to deal with Draymond for a full season?
Right.
The Warriors at least know how to do it in some sort of sense.
Yeah.
And I think Draymond Green is smart enough to know that no one else, I don't think anyone else in the league values him as much as the Warriors do.
Yep.
So I think that at this point, even if you just trying to do this, I think he's gonna end up being good soldier at the end of this, because if he wants a contract, if he wants a good long-term contract, it's only gonna be in Golden State. I don't think it's gonna happen anywhere else.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree.
Right. You're right, TV. But in hearing Draymond, especially on his podcast, you get the sense that he feels he can get this money somewhere else. And you're right. His value is tied to the Warriors. Everything you do fits the Warrior system, and I don't know that Draymond Green is the same player in another organization. I just don't see it.
He's not. He's not.
Speaking of players who are refusing to understand their value or lack thereof, I thought the preseason would have changed things, but we've seen Russell Westbrook refuse to go into Lakers huddles. He refused to listen to Patrick Beverley in defensive huddles. He's not going with teams. He's not high-fiving. He's not doing any of that. So, Adam, I'm going to start with you this time. What should the Los Angeles Lakers do with an impending problem, otherwise known as Russell Westbrook?
Well, if anyone on here has listened to me in the past before, when a player becomes problematic, I do personally believe that you have to move off of him. And we've seen this, time and time again in the NFL, in the NBA as well. But, when you take a look at the fact that this is what Russell Westbrook has shown us. He's shown us that he's rigid. He's shown us that he'll cuss fans out, which stand up for yourself. Don't get me wrong, but there's been more than one occasion. And of course, people can be a little comfortable with Russ, but let me stick to the point here. We know how rigid the personality can be. We know how the coachability can be there one day, but not there most days. Excuse me. And when they brought him over to the Lakers, the amount of turnovers was ridiculous. Just the grief that you could kind of see that was over this team on some of the teammates' faces when Russell Westbrook was trying to bring the ball up the court, when he was trying to take these jump shots, when he wasn't really doing his part where he should be in this type of offense. And we want to talk about people enabling Draymond Green. The Thunder enabled Russell Westbrook. Once the MVP season came and he had triple-double after triple-double after triple-double, Russell Westbrook thought he could do anything. He got paid. He got the MVP. He was waiting on it. And then he went to another team. And we realized that your scheme matters. Where you land matters. And I just don't personally believe with the geezer convention that the Los Angeles Lakers are right now, that this is going to be something that is actual long-term success, something that you're going to say, okay, this is a team to fear with Russell Westbrook wanting your point, street clothes Davis playing 15 games a year, and LeBron James doing what he can at coming up on 40 years old. And he's probably going to still be the best player. He's probably going to score 30 to 35 points a game because that's who LeBron James is. He's going to elevate this team. Love you, Jansen. The only reason the Lakers are going to be talked about is LeBron in year whatever, chasing another MVP, chasing another scoring title, holding it down. It's not going to be because of Russell Westbrook. I don't think it's going to be because of Anthony Davis. I respect that Beverly is there, but if you're we know that he's got a lot of skin in the game. And let's be real. I was kind of trying to think of a comp for Draymond Green. Look at Pat Bev. He'll piss you off. He'll get in your grill. He'll make you really, really irritated. And let's take the irritability of Westbrook. Let's take the fact that we know how Patrick Beverley is. It's going to be tough, man. I think you got to move off of him. But again, I don't know if anyone really understood the true Westbrook chase. Like when we really, really broke it down, realized how this team was getting older, what they were struggling with, what they didn't need in a player like Westbrook. Yeah, I feel bad for Lakers fans, but I do think that Westbrook should be moving off to, just because if the whole talk around the culture and the fans is let's win now, let's go now, let's do it now. You really think Russell Westbrook is going to be the one? Sorry, I don't. And he showed me that he can't be.
Well, somebody on this panel does think Russell Westbrook is going to be the one. So, Jansen Harris.
Wait. Yes, he's struggling. We've seen a bad preseason. He struggled last year. Didn't look good. Let's look at the numbers. 5.5 points a game. Don't know how that happened. 3 rebounds, 3 assists. But it's just the preseason. Look, I'm not saying Russell Westbrook is all world. He's not. Of course, he's declining. Yeah. I'm saying there's going to be a point in this season where the Lakers and this team makes the adjustments. He's not going to have the ball in his hands a lot. And part of my reason for saying – oh, go ahead. What did you say? Oh, okay, sorry about that. Part of the reason why I think this Lakers team could get to the finals is because I think LeBron and Westbrook are going to have that conversation. They're going to have a conversation, or they're going to have meetings, player-only meetings, and say, hey, we got to get things going. But to me, we need to focus on that health of Anthony Davis. I'm banking my money on AD this year. Now, if Anthony Davis goes out there, he does what he does, a knee, he's out for 30, 40 games, okay, come back, bring me back on the show, and then I'll tell you how wrong I am, and I have to backtrack a little bit. But for right now, I'm banking on LeBron James to have an MVP-like season like he always does, and then I'm banking on Anthony Davis to be all-world like he was in 2020.
Who are those Westbrook two players he just said he was banking on there? Go ahead.
Westbrook Westbrook just needs to realize he's getting older, pass the darn ball more, you're turning the ball over too much, and somebody needs to stand up to him and get in this grill. Now, we keep talking about, okay, they need to get off Westbrook. I agree. Look, I like Westbrook, and yeah, trade him, but you got to think this. Who wants to pay Westbrook right now?
Nobody. There's no market for Russell
nobody.
Westbrook
So
right
to
now.
me, I'm just saying make it work. Make it work. And I think it can with this team.
Yeah.
I think, and Pat Bev, I believe he's going to be perfect, and he's going to be perfect for the playoffs and this playoff run.
Yeah.
And remember this. Let's talk about the other teams in the West. The Phoenix Suns, and I think we're going to get to that. They have a lot of stuff going on in that organization. You talk about the Clippers. They're the Clippers. Can they stay healthy? They got questions around them.
Yep.
Then I look at the Warriors. It's so hard to win back-to-back championships. So the Lakers are in the mix. Memphis, they're good. Maybe they'll win a lot of games this season, the top 2 seed, but I don't think they're going to make noise in the playoffs. I just don't see it. Denver's good, but a lot of these teams, they have question marks, and a lot of it is surrounded by injuries. But to me, I think the Lakers will be in the finals. And again, should they get off Westbrook? They should, but who's going to trade for him?
Yeah.
I know where TV's going, so take it away, Tomas.
You're talking about teams with question marks? And the Lakers are the ones with the biggest question marks of them all. What are you talking about? Like, look, I'm going to take it all the way back to the beginning. When they trade for Russell Westbrook, didn't make sense to me whatsoever. I didn't like the fit.
It was a
I was just
haul.
at all, like, absolutely. I didn't see it happening. And honestly, this was even worse than I thought was going to happen. Russell Westbrook just clearly he needs like a completely new scenario, out of the limelight, out of anything. He needs to rebuild himself somewhere else. The Lakers is not the place to rebuild yourself. You get better when you leave the Lakers. We've seen that on multiple occasions. But they had the chance to trade him on multiple occasions last year to the Pacers for the whole Miles Turner, Buddy Hield sort of thing. If that's on the table again, I don't care if it takes for 2 first-round picks. Do it in an instant. Do it in an absolute instant, because if you want to have the type of expectations like Jansen has for the Lakers, you need to get Russell Westbrook out of here. As long as he's on that team, they're gonna not make any noise whatsoever.
Yep.
None. I have less faith in them than I do the Brooklyn Nets, and that's saying something. The whole thing, the Anthony Davis situation, like, when has he proven that he is able to stay on the court? He hasn't.
Street closed.
Literally, the only thing the Lakers are gonna make newsworthy this year is LeBron passing Kareem to be number 1 all time in scoring. That's it. That really is the case. Russell Westbrook, honestly, the only thing you could do immediately is put him on the bench. I don't even know if he's going to be ready for the start of the season, because I know he has like a sprained ankle or sprained hamstring or something like that. But either way, you cannot have him in the same starting 5 as LeBron and Anthony Davis together. Maybe he can feast on the bench, on different benches in the league. Maybe that can work for him. But even if he does buy into the system, the fit is just not there. The fit was never there. And no matter how much you want Russell Westbrook to change, he can change all he wants. It doesn't take away from the fact that he just does not fit on this Laker team. Honestly, I want to see him. I don't know where I would want to see him, because even if they do trade him to the Pacers, they're going to probably just buy him out, and he'll end up on a different team anyways. But at the end of the day, this team isn't going anywhere as long as Russell Westbrook is on the team. Whatever it takes, try to get him out of there. If they have Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, we can have a completely different conversation. But Russell Westbrook, I guess for the immediate time, just put him on the bench. Hopefully he can do well in the second unit. But besides that, the Lakers aren't doing anything with him on the roster.
So here it goes, right? No one's going to trade for Russell Westbrook, because no one's going to give up assets as he's an expiring contract. And expiring contracts don't mean what they used to back in the day. So I don't think, maybe Indiana, as you said, TV, because they think they're trying to blow it all up. And you're correct. The Lakers should have taken anything. If they had a Mariah Carey CD on the offer, they should have taken that. Like, anything you should have taken.
Damn.
There are no offers coming right now. Right? And typically, I'm not one to say eat 40, however much $1 million he's making. So find a way to make it work on the bench. But the problem is the Lakers crazily have title aspirations. The Lakers and Jansen believe that they can win a title. I'm not sure what's going on. So if you honestly think you can win a title, this sounds crazy. You're going to have to pay Russell Westbrook to stay home. Like stay home. Like, completely stay home and do nothing. Because you're going to mess with the chemistry. We've seen it already. Right before tip-off, Lakers are huddling. Russell Westbrook is by the bench. You saw it. Pat Bev tried to call in everyone to talk about defensive assignments. Russell Westbrook refused to listen. This is not going to work for your cohesion. Like you've heard title teams say over and over again, even if like everyone on your team, you have to be on the same page. And Westbrook is not on the same page with this team. You can see when he doesn't play with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, the numbers show last season he averaged 22, 8, and 8. The problem is in those games without LeBron James and Anthony Davis, the Lakers were what? 8 and 18. Russell Westbrook, for all those stats, was still a -6. You don't need him. You have Patrick Beverley that you just traded for. You know, or signed, sorry. Kendrick Nunn is coming back. So you actually have two capable point guards who can space the floor for LeBron James. And it is not like LeBron James is going to be off the ball anyway. LeBron James is your team's de facto point guard. Wherever LeBron James is, he is essentially the point guard. So you want that guard to be able to shoot. And we all know that is not one of Russell Westbrook's skills right now. I'd pay him to stay home. For cohesion purposes, for basketball purposes, it does not make sense having him around. If this team honestly thought and knew that they were not going to win the title and they won't, then yeah, it doesn't make any sense paying somebody for no reason, have him go around. But nah, do what the Rockets did with John Wall. Tell him we don't need your services. We are going to give you your paycheck every single month. But please do not come to the facility. Do not come to Staples Center. Do not come in anywhere in LA. Please stay out the county. Stay out the state if you possibly can. Wherever your home is that is not in California, be there. Do not appear in our facility. Do not come to our practices. Do not come to the games in the stands as a fan to watch. Do not come. We do not. That's John Wall. Glad he brought up John Wall because guess where he is now? In the other LA team, the LA Clippers. And if I'm correct, this is what, year 4 or year 5 of the Paul George Kawhi experience. Mm-hmm. So is it time now, Tomas, that this Clippers team will finally contend for a title?
I really want to believe it. I really do want to believe that this is the Clippers' year. But there's a reason I didn't put them into my title favorites. The Clippers are the Clippers. That's the thing about them. I mean, they've had, especially in this decade, they've had two versions of the Clippers, which some may believe could be title contenders. When you think about the Lob City Clippers, you had Chris Paul, a prime Blake Griffin, a prime DeAndre Jordan. In many cases, that could have been a good enough team to go to the NBA Finals, but they didn't because they're the Clippers. They give up leads they give up series on a yearly basis. And now with this team with the Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and honestly, I'm shocked. I mean, Justin said earlier, this like year 4, year 5 of this whole experiment. It doesn't feel like that to me. It really did feel like it's been like 2 years or so. But I digress. But you have Kawhi Leonard here, and it doesn't really matter, honestly. He could play 50-something games in the season, even a bit less than 50. As long as he's healthy for the playoffs, that's all that really matters to them. Same thing with Paul George. If you can get those two guys healthy for a playoff run, that is the key to them winning a championship. And like Justin said earlier, they're one of the deepest teams in the league. I mean, they still have Reggie Jackson, John Wall. They have a deep guard rotation. Even they improved the wing position last trade deadline when they brought in Robert Covington. They have Norman Powell to come off their bench as their sixth man. They have a really deep team. And I think if all things go right, if they all stay healthy, they can win a championship. But besides all that, besides the injuries, my other concern for them, their center position. Because once Ivica Zubac goes out with injury, I had to check their depth chart. All they have left is Moses Brown. And I don't think the Clippers want to have that going into a playoff series. I think they'll just take their risk with Robert Covington at center. But that is a whole issue unto itself, and I don't think many people are talking about that. Maybe because they think that the Clippers are just going to end up going small at the end of games. But doing that for a whole playoff series, doing that for like a significant amount of time if Zubac does miss time. It's going to be really tough for them. But as long as they have Kawhi healthy in the playoff run, Paul George, we know what Kawhi can do when he's the number one guy on a playoff contending team. He could be a top 3 player in the NBA with his talent. So they can win, but there's just too, you cannot bet too much on the Clippers because you just know that something's going to go wrong no matter what.
Are you as hopeful in these Clippers as you are the Lakers, Jansen, or are the Clippers going to clipper?
This is a great question, and guys, I have to get off after this answer, but I had a blast. But I'll tell you this. I love this Clippers team. On paper, I love this team. However, health is going to be an issue. Can this team stay healthy? Probably not. They're a deep team. They're going to win some games, but if Kawhi Leonard needs to prove he could stay healthy, and then when they get to the playoffs, the Clippers are going to be the Clippers. They're going to find a way to be up 3-1, 3-2, and blow a series. I just don't see this team winning a championship. On paper, yes, this team is a better team than the Lakers and other teams that we're mentioning at the top with the talent. But it's going to come down to their health. It's going to come down to the culture. And the Clippers culture, they can build teams. There's talent. The Clippers can get talent. That's never been an issue. It's just something mentally with this organization. They just can't close out series when they need to. And this is a team that you're going to see again. There's going to be times in the season or times even in the playoffs where you're like, damn, this Clippers team might win it all. And then something's going to happen. Defensive lapses. But to me, to conclude my statement, I think the Clippers, if healthy, they can make a run and win some games, maybe a top 3 seed. But when it comes to the playoffs, we'll see. We'll see. But I'm not even convinced that Kawhi Leonard could stay healthy. He missed a lot of games, and that messes up your chemistry too. Half these teams in the NBA, if healthy, which we even say the same thing in the NFL, they're going to do damage. But the problem is when you're out so many games, you come back and you're a main player, and you guys just don't have that chemistry. Even and I hear guys say this, and I hear a lot of people say this. Oh well, we just need guys for the playoffs, but that chemistry matters. That chemistry, game after game. I'm not saying you have to be Michael Jordan and play the whole season and Kobe Bryant. These guys don't do that anymore. But you got to play some games. Clippers, Lakers, they got to get their health up.
So as we let Jansen go, and please just know wherever you can, follow Jansen Harris and the Just Good Network. Actually, quickly plug yourself before you hop on now, Jansen.
Absolutely. Guys, visit the justgoodnetwork.com. Come broadcast with us. We're doing things every day. Want to give a shout to all you guys, man. I had fun. I hate that I got to jump off. Please invite me next week, within the next month. I had blast talking sports with you guys. But justgoodnetwork.com, Just Good Network, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Holla at your boy. Peace out, y'all. Thank you.
So, like Jansen, Adam, are the Clippers going to be just good? Yeah, sorry for that cheating lane. Or can they actually contend for a title?
I can't believe you really just went there. Yeah, I think they'll be just good, and the guys have made a really good point as well. I mean, the Clippers right now are kind of on a Dallas Cowboys type of vibe. Oh, it's going to be our year. We've got all this talent. Look at the paper. Look at the stars. Look at Kawhi. Look at Paul George. When are they playing together? When are these two guys actually on the court at the same time producing and putting out that championship caliber type of play? Because we've seen it time and time again, the injuries, blowing the leads, defensive lapses, they have to mesh at the right time. We know that Kawhi is a superstar. Like TV said, the guy could be a top 3 player in the league with the talent that he actually brings to the table, but he's got to be out there. He missed the entire last season. And you look at the fact that the Clippers are a team that a lot of people do want them to win. They've been talked about in the conversation for a while. They've been out there. They've been producing to a certain level, but they're obviously not passing that, that pedestal that they want to get past in the NBA right now. So I think they'll just be decent. It's all about Kawhi. Is Kawhi going to be there? Is Paul George going to be there? Also, are they going to mesh and be together at the same time, both healthy and really just coaching more than anything for this team? We've seen that as well. So.
I don't know if I can add anything else other than what y'all already said. Like, I'll say this. If they don't get it done this year, then they're never going to get it done. Because, like, I have to believe now that Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are fully healthy. And then you have let's go through the names. You added John Wall to a roster that has Reggie Jackson, Norm Powell, Robert Covington. I am missing so many more. Zubac, as you mentioned. Then there's still Nicholas Batum, Terrence Mann, who has been on this show. So shout out to Terrence Mann, a friend of the show. Your roster is extremely, extremely deep. You're basically too deep at every position, not needing center. I'm missing Marcus Morris Sr. This is a damn good team on paper. And all that I thought that was missing was the health. I have to believe that those two players, being Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, are going to play at least 70% of these games. If they don't get it done this year, you're going to just have to start cleaning house, and you're going to have to start at the head coach, Doc Rivers, who I'm not a fan of. But I don't know what more the Clippers are going to want. You have a very good defensive roster. You have a top 10 player in this league, arguably top 5 if Kawhi Leonard gets back to whatever he is. You have a good second banana in Paul George. Great three-point shooting all across the board when you added Robert Covington and Norm Powell, Reggie Jackson. Schematically, there is no weakness on this site except for a backup center, as TV mentioned. If you don't win it this year, your franchise is basically blighted, and you need to just blow it all up. Well, guys, the reason I've taken such a long break is because I don't really want to get to this next segment because it hits a little bit too close to home because, it's talking about blights. I don't think there is one contender that has had a worse offseason than my Phoenix Suns. We can start from the top and go down bottom. We lost in that horrific Game 7 against Dallas Mavericks. We don't need to drag that back up. Then we knew about the year-long investigation into the owner, Robert Sarver, who is now being forced to sell his team after the discoveries of racial and sexual remarks and other stuff going on. Then we were made to be aware that the head coach and the center in DeAndre Ayton have not had any conversation since that Game 7 loss in which he benched the center during that game. We were in trade talks for Kevin Durant and we have not gotten him. And by the way, yes, there is one more problem. Jay Crowder wants out, and he, like what I think the Lakers should do with Russell Westbrook, is currently being paid to stay away from the facility. So TV, amidst all of that drama I just listed, and I'm sure I'm missing one more point, can the Phoenix Suns find some way to overcome all of that?
Before we get to the Suns, I'm going to say the only other team I can think of that had a worse offseason than you guys is the Charlotte Hornets. Yeah, James Bouknight got arrested today too, so there goes 2 of their stars. But let's go into talk about the Phoenix Suns. Yes, there are issues in this team. You mentioned basically all of them. I don't think you missed any. But I think I have a bit more faith in this team than you do. I think that the team, yes, Chris Paul is 37, 38 years old. He is not getting any younger. But at the same time, I believe that Monty Williams is one of the best coaches in the league. And what I think they can do, at least, is be professional and be on the same page. Maybe the Suns in the playoffs are a whole different scenario, but I still think they're going to win a lot of games in the West. I mean, even without Jay Crowder, that just means more minutes for Cam Johnson, and he was absolutely excellent last season, and taking that next step in his game. You have that. You still have Mikal Bridges, one of the best 3-and-D players in the league. And then you have a borderline or a top 10 player in the league. I mean, I remember Justin said that Devin Booker's a top 10 player in the league on my show a few weeks ago. But I do believe that this is still a very good team. DeAndre Ayton, whatever your opinion is on him, I know he hasn't really improved much since his rookie season. But at the end of the day, this is a very well put together team. And they've shown, even with one guy missing or another guy missing, they just still know how to get wins. And I know that it's looking bad right now, but I think the culture on the court, I think it's gonna still carry over from year to year. There are gonna be some issues, and if those issues start to be brought up throughout the season, then if you're the Suns, you have to exterminate them right away. If nothing improves between DeAndre Ayton and the coach, trade him in January. Jay Crowder, try to get him away from that team as quick as possible before it gets even worse. But I think the Suns, compared to at least previous years, I think they can handle these adversities better. Will they be a title contender like they have been the last 2 years? Probably not, but I still think that they can still like make some noise. I still think they can win a lot of games, potentially be a top 4 team in the West. There are some question marks, but I still believe that they could still like power through this, even though you've listed it. It's a lot of things that happened to them this past offseason.
Same question, Adam. Can the Suns overcome all this offseason drama, or is this just too much to get by?
I think they can overcome it in terms of being able to get prepared, for the openers, being prepared to, have those first few games under their belt. And I think overall, kind of like TV said, I think they'll be a top 4 team. They're going to top 4 team in the West and maybe even a top 4 team in the NBA. Who knows? These guys are really loaded. We know what they can do. But, past the point of the regular season, we've seen these guys dominate the regular season. We've seen them have the best record in the NBA. Speaking of a team like the Clippers, we've seen them be great, regular season in and regular season out. But it's about, and I know that they were just in the finals, but it's about actually having that sustainability, actually be able to deliver it game over game, and overall have that prowess on the court, because we've seen the Suns where, they should be winning going away, be winning games, decently, and they just can't bring it together and actually get the job done. So that's going to be the big question is, how is the coaching actually going to be effective in the postseason? Are these guys going to have great chemistry? Are they going to gel well together in the postseason? Because I think the regular season will be fine. Some people might call me crazy and say, man, Adam is, so much has happened, Adam, in the offseason that how can you think the Suns are going to be anything formidable? I believe that they'll get it together. I do. It's been a lot of noise for sure, but I don't think it's necessarily been something that when you look at it now, walking into the season, now it's like, okay, they are seriously going to be hindered by that, because correct me if I'm wrong, Ayton almost went to the Pacers, right? And then the Suns matched the deal, correct? Is that how that worked out? Okay, so he stayed home, which was good. So they at least kept him there. Obviously, you got a scoring machine in Devin Booker. We know what he's capable of. So I think these guys will pull it together. I think they'll be good through the regular season, but we'll check back and really mark my words. When those playoffs roll around, what type of Phoenix Suns are we actually going to be seeing in this NBA?
This sounds harsh as a Phoenix Suns fan to say, but no. And the reason I think this window has already closed. Their best chance to win the title, obviously, was 2 seasons ago when they were in the finals. And like any other title-winning team or contending team, luck has to play a huge part. And if I'm being honest, we were very fortunate in that season, Anthony Davis was hurt. Kawhi Leonard was missing. Paul George carried some niggles. The Denver Nuggets, like they're always injured. We had fortune bumps our way. The mere fact now that the Lakers are expecting Anthony Davis to be fully healthy, and now maybe the Denver Nuggets get a full season of Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray. Like, by health alone, a lot of these teams are going to surpass us. The Clippers, they're going to expect a full season or most of the season from Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. These teams by health alone are getting better. We, since that finals appearance, are only getting worse simply because Chris Paul is getting older. And I don't know if we're going to see Chris Paul as good as he was 2 seasons or even last season. We recognized that and tried to swing for Kevin Durant. No one got him. And I thought, okay, we have to target another scorer. It is clear that we can't expect a full postseason of dominance or all-star level play from Chris Paul. I mean, he is 37, 38. But we were not able to trade that or make a swing for that kind of player. Jay Crowder, for his limitations offensively, he does bring a lot on the other side of the floor. And even if Cam Johnson is better offensively, it still shortens your bench now. I thought we would be able to bring in a Bojan Bogdanovic. That trade didn't pan out. So I don't know what we're going to get for Jay Crowder if we're going to just have to pay him to stay home, like I'm suggesting with Russell Westbrook. Then the situation with DeAndre Ayton. If you know me, if you've watched the show, you know I'm not a fan of DeAndre Ayton. He is not physically strong. He does not impose his will on either side of the floor. He does not protect the paint. He cannot create his own shot. He does not put his body in defenders. He does not teams are willing to switch and live with the consequences because they know he's not going to power through anybody. He's not going to lay up or dunk over anybody for an and-one play. That is not what DeAndre Ayton is. And if you're going to pay a guy at that position, you're hoping that is what he is. I thought that Phoenix would have found a way to change him or swap him out for Miles Turner. Now, I know a lot of people will tell me Miles Turner isn't as good, but Miles Turner would be bringing things that we would expect from the position, primarily the ability to protect the rim, the ability to stretch the floor, because if you're going to have a big that doesn't want to score in the paint, fine. At least have one that goes out to three-point, range. Like DeAndre Ayton does not take enough three-pointers on a whole. And then that's another part of this team. This team doesn't take a lot of three-pointers, period. So you're relying on two mid-range specialists. And as we've seen against Dallas series over, that may win you regular season games, but when you're trading twos to threes, that is not going to win series. Like Dallas exploited that. So too did the Milwaukee Bucks in that final series. We did not get better in terms of bringing in an additional scorer, an additional playmaker, and adding three-point shooting. If the Los Angeles Lakers, the Clippers, the Denver Nuggets can all be healthy, those are three teams that just passed in the pecking order by health alone that got better. We have not gotten better over the last two seasons. We will be relying on DeAndre Ayton to be that third star, and he is not that player. I don't think that the off-court drama, we are good enough to get past it, especially since we have not been able to move on from Robert Sarver quickly to find a new owner. The stink of Robert Sarver still shadows over this organization. I told Tomas before the start of the show, Adam, you're going to hear this, it's going to sound like a surprise. The Suns will get into the first round because it is just that talented. I don't see us making it out of the first round, and y'all can react.
I can't say you're crazy, man. I mean, considering what the team has put on paper, or not put on paper, considering what they've been on paper and, what you think they should show you on the court versus the talent that they're playing against, it's been tough at times, and you have to go back to that coaching. You have to go back to that true fundamental basketball. Are these guys accomplishing the small things to make the big changes happen? Because we know, playoff basketball gets very intense. Everybody's playing smash mouth defense. The game is very quick. It's already fast enough in regular season, let alone when you get into those playoffs. So I'm not going to say you're crazy there, man. I could see the Suns now kind of, coming back to earth. Like, okay, we really should have been just a first or a second round team the whole time because of how they flop when they get into, to the conference finals and then to the finals as well. So I wouldn't say you're crazy for that, Justin.
TV?
I think that the thing about the Phoenix Suns team, I mean, you said they can come out the first round. That's the thing. Like, you can have them going all the way to the first round, but sometimes, winning cures everything, right? If they start winning in the regular season, they can maybe get back on the same page. And we've seen this team make the run to the finals before, so it's not completely out of the picture that you can do it. But it really comes down to, will at any point everyone buy in? That's the whole thing. And I maybe don't see it happening, but I think knowing that this might be Chris Paul's last chance, knowing that this is probably the slightest window is still open, I think there could be something there where the Suns come together. Look, this might be our best chance at it. Let's move everything past this side. Let's try and win this one, and our final chance sort of thing for kind of Chris Paul, I guess. It really depends on how much they really buy into him. Maybe a move or two on the buyout market, maybe on the trade can change some things. But this is the thing about the Phoenix Suns. They can be as much as a first round exit all the way to a finals appearance. So I think it could go either way. I'm more going towards the former, the one that Justin's saying. I think they're closer to a first round team than they are to a championship contender. But I do think that they definitely they could have a chance. I think they still have a chance. The window's not completely closed.
Well, we were not the only team in the NBA with off-season drama because guess what? Marsh's team over there in Boston, their head coach got in some trouble, and we still have not found out the full story. But what we do know is that Ime Udoka has been suspended for the entire 2022-2023 season. So, Adam, just like the Phoenix Suns, how will the Boston Celtics respond to the suspension of their head coach?
The NBA is really funny as we talk about this because if Draymond Green can punch a teammate in the mouth and not get suspended, but Ime Udoka can get flirtatious or have sex with one of his, coaching staff members, what are we doing here? I mean, I get it. Obviously, there's implications, there's rules in the NBA, but it's really funny how things play out. I think the Celtics are going to look very average this year. I highly believe that. With Ime Udoka not, in the building at all, being completely suspended for the entire season, I don't know if, when guys are suspended, if they're able to have communications with the team or, what they can kind of try to do to get messages through, I guess, because I know Ime is going to be watching the games. Like, he's going to be involved as much as he can be as a suspended coach. But let's not forget, Ime Udoka deserves a lot of credit for the way Boston was able to play last year. I get it. They caught some breaks throughout, but there were also breaks in the West as well. When you look at the fact that he didn't completely elevate a Tatum and a Brown, but he did bring them to a higher level. He just did not elevate them to that championship caliber that they needed to be. Clearly, we saw that they did kind of fold in those finals when things got really thick for them. And I mean, you're going against the Golden State Warriors, so you're going to do the best that you can against the Splash Bros, who were clearly putting on a show in the finals last year. But, when you look at the fact that they don't have their head coach who was highly touted for last year. They don't have the guy who was really the one in the locker room, in these guys' ears, talking to these young guys, making sure they could get it together. Because if we all remember, when Lloyd Pierce was with the Atlanta Hawks, his whole thing was he couldn't handle young guys. It seems as Ime Udoka can do that. And now that they're going to have that type of specialty away from them in a season where they're coming off the NBA finals, I just think it's going to be really tough. I might pull back off that average statement, but if these guys were unfortunately somewhere in the 45 to 50 range of wins because of not having the coach, I think that would show why.
Do you have a higher output of the Celtics? Actually, you do, TV, because you have them as a title contender.
Yeah, I do. The Boston Celtics, I still believe. Yes, I mean, I agree completely with Adam. When the Boston Celtics were at their very worst last year, Ime Udoka set up some sort of, he's the one who called out their star players, talking about how they need to put in more effort. Him and Marcus Smart both were out there saying, they have to put in more effort, especially on the defensive end. Yep. And that's when they start taking over the league. That's when I think they finished as a third seed last year in the Eastern Conference and made it all the way to the NBA Finals.
Yep.
But what the difference between the Suns and the Celtics here are, the Suns as a roster are getting worse, losing Jay Crowder and other players like a JaVale McGee, who was a good backup center for them last year. The Celtics got better. They brought in Malcolm Brogdon, and that was that is their main issue in the playoffs last year. Having that true point guard. I mean, yes, Marcus Smart is great, defensive player of the year, this and that. But when you have someone as reliable as Malcolm Brogdon who can get the ball to their stars, someone who is just a steady hand at the point guard position, especially at the end of games, that does that is a big difference to the team, for a team like a Boston Celtics. And it's not like they're getting some sort of any sort of coach. I mean, this coach has been with them for a couple of years now. I think the Celtics players will still believe in him as well. And I think that this team in general, I think the bigger situation, even past the Ime Udoka one, is just seeing if Robert Williams can get healthy. He's gonna be out the first almost 3 months of the season. I think that is more of an issue that they have to deal with. But if he's healthy for the playoffs, if the rest of these guys will be healthy and are on the same page, I don't see why not they can't be in the same position. They've addressed the biggest issue on the basketball floor, and now they have every kind of thing covered. Do they have a lob threat? Do they have a defensive anchor? Yes. Do they have an elite perimeter defender, a vocal leader? Yes. They have a top 10 player in Jayson Tatum. They have a borderline top 20 player in Jaylen Brown, a very good number 2. And now you have a reliable point guard, which they haven't had in years if you really think about it. I mean, Kyrie Irving was probably their best point guard in a while, but he still wasn't a pass-first guy. I think that Brogdon's a better playmaker than him, at least on the passing end. Same thing with Isaiah Thomas. Same thing with Dennis Schroeder, which they've had in the past. They have a steady hand at the point guard position now. And with the rest of the team basically coming back, it's basically the same roster as last year. I don't see why not they can still be a title contender in the East. I do have a lot of hope for the Boston Celtics. I have very high expectation for them even this season without Ime Udoka.
I just don't know how much of their second half success is tied to Ime Udoka. I know the Celtics are who they are because of what they do on the defensive end. And I have to think that Udoka is very responsible for that. Like I said, he had a closed-door meeting, called out the 2 stars with Marcus Smart. So I have to believe, he is that guy who is responsible for the defensive turnaround. Like you said, I think the guy is Joe Mazzulla. I like the fact that they kept it in-house. So there is a level of continuity. We know this guy, Mazzulla knows what, Udoka brought in terms of defensive schemes. And from all the reports, he is a well thought of defensive assistant coach. So the Celtics do have that. Like you said, they brought in Malcolm Brogdon, which should solve their biggest issue, which was lack of facilitating. Like, their two best players are not good passers, and Marcus Smart is not good enough to demand the ball in their hands. The issue I find is, are you going to play Malcolm Brogdon and Marcus Smart together in a smaller lineup? Because, these are your best players outside of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But you touched on it, TV. I think the biggest issue outside of Udoka being gone, if Udoka was going to be here and Robert Williams not, then I think they'd be fine. Not having both of them, I think that's going to be problematic. And I'll bring you to why I think this week. In 21 game sample size without Robert Williams, the Celtics were basically a 500 team, 11-10. In that span, would you know, this great defensive team gave up 115 points per contest. That is not the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics are a defensive-minded team, arguably top 2, top 3, if not the best defensive team in the league when fully healthy. Robert Williams is one of the catalysts behind that. He is arguably their only rim protector and probably a top 5, top 3 rim protector in the entire league. Not just a rim protector, he protects a lot of mistakes. He patrols sideline to sideline on that back end. I look up and down that roster, there is no player who can replicate that, to the point where they're saying no. In his absence, they're going to have Jayson Tatum play, a football terminology here, free safety for them in his absence. I don't know that that is a recipe for success. This team is going to have to play very, very small. Al Horford is obviously going to be their starting center, and I can see them downsizing, and going Jayson Tatum at the 4, Jaylen Brown at the 3, Smart at the 2, and Malcolm Brogdon playing point. Then I like the fact that they picked up Danilo Gallinari for basically absolutely nothing, as well as Malcolm Brogdon.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't like this team's identity is at the defensive end, and you're going to lose your head coach and arguably your best player, if not your second best player, for a very long stretch of season. Milwaukee is going to be healthy. Philadelphia is going to be at full strength, I have to assume, for the rest of the season. Brooklyn now will not have to worry about Kyrie Irving saying no, and now they have Ben Simmons for the foreseeable future. I think Boston is going to take a couple steps back. Obviously, they're going to make the playoffs, but I don't think that they're going to be a top 3, top 4 seed. And if that is the case, gentlemen, can they win 2 or 3 straight road series to get into the finals? I don't know that Jayson Tatum is that good.
Right.
But I set up all the days for myself. I'm patting myself on the back. Because the Brooklyn Nets I just mentioned are our last segment for the night, gentlemen. Adam, we're getting a full season of Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving, unless Kyrie Irving is going to fight some sort of thing to be the voice for the voiceless and walk around throwing sage on the court with a stick and saying kumbaya to the entire world. But we should get in a full season of Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant if he doesn't get injured again. What will these Brooklyn Nets look like?
Well, for starters, I don't personally believe that we're going to see a fully healthy Kevin Durant and Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving all at the same time. I personally believe one or multiples of them are going to be floating around. I'm not going to believe Ben Simmons is truly going to be on this court and be a difference maker until I see him play quite a few games and make an impact quite a few times. Kyrie Irving, the earth is flat and then it's not. I'll just leave that there. And Kevin Durant, obviously, he's got to keep his health as well because we know his build has clearly been an issue for him in the past, especially from the waist down. But personally, I mean, you take a look at the fact that the Nets haven't won 50 games in a while, even when they had this slew of players with Kyrie, Harden, and KD. You know, they weren't able to all stay healthy at the same time. And we've seen that, you know, with this team over and over again, it's kind of just starting to feel like a rinse and repeat. And I understand we've had injuries, we've had a couple of different players, but at the core, this team has truly been the same for quite some time now. Obviously, Harden is out of the mix. You're bringing in Ben Simmons, but this just still feels so messy to me. You know, it still feels so messy. You got to ask yourself, is Ben Simmons going to be able to deal with those high pressure moments in the middle of the game once the playoffs are coming around? What if it's not the playoffs, but it's just a really pivotal game in the NBA that the Brooklyn Nets are going to need to pull down? I don't have faith in them to win those types of games when they approach, especially not with the three. I think it would be more of a solo Kevin Durant, you know, really carrying the load type of thing. And then, you know, if Kyrie decides to step, not if Kyrie decides to step in, because we know he's very capable and a very, very elite talent in this game when he chooses to be, when he's available. Same with Ben Simmons. That's why this is such a hearsay basketball team. So I can't truly believe that they're going to even win 45 games. That's their ceiling for me, is 45 games this year.
Wow. I love it. TV, games, titles, somewhere in between there.
Well, the ceiling for this Brooklyn Nets team is a 60-win team, but we know that's not going to happen, is it? This is a very weird offseason. I mean, we're talking about a lot of teams with a really weird offseason. This is a really weird offseason for the Brooklyn Nets. Kevin Durant basically asked for the GM and the coach to get fired. That's how that got that legitimately. He asked them to get fired. He wasn't even being beating around the bush. He said straight up he wanted them gone, and the thing is, I have the Brooklyn Nets problems like in 3 tiers. You have number one, the injury issues. We haven't seen Ben Simmons play in like 15 months. We don't know what he's going to look like in a regular season game. And they're also, I mean, people aren't talking about this enough. They're missing 3 guys in their rotation on opening night. No TJ Warren, no Seth Curry, no Joe Harris.
Yep.
That like the guys surrounding the 3 All-Stars are not like the best of health either. So we don't know what's going to happen with them. And then you have the whole Kyrie, Kevin Durant situation. I mean, Kyrie, he can retire basketball midway through the season. And let's be honest, would we be surprised? I don't think we would be like, I don't think we would have been we wouldn't be surprised at all. Kevin Durant, we've seen over the past few years, he has had some injury issues. I don't think that's going to be escaping him this season. And to be honest, I mean, I love Steve Nash as a player, Canadian basketball legend. He's just not a good coach. He really just is not a good coach. And I think on paper, if everyone's healthy, it feels great. It seems great. And like I said, the talent is like a 60-plus team. You can win 60-plus get 60-plus wins with this roster. But there's just so many outside factors with this team. And I think I've seen this on in some sort of show or something. Like, it was a blessing that they had Mike D'Antoni there the first year they were like when they making the second round, potentially making the NBA Finals, because he could help Steve Nash there. He's gone. There's no one there's the assistant coaches are not on that same level as a D'Antoni, and now you have all these questionable pieces. Yes, they are all-stars, star caliber players, but these are some of the guys with the biggest egos in the league, the biggest boomer bust type of whether they're going to be on the court or not. There's just way too many question marks with this team, and honestly, if I'm being realistic, I could see them as a 6th, 7th seed in the East. Precisely. Yes, they could be number 1. They could be number 1, but they're probably not going to be. And I just do not trust this team whatsoever. Right. I think I saw that Vegas has them at 50 wins as kind of the benchmark. Exactly. No. I'm going way, way under that. I could see them as even a 43-win team. That's as bad as it can get for the Brooklyn Nets. I do not believe them whatsoever.
I thought it was tough. I know y'all have influenced me, because the reason they put this question in the entire show, I have no idea. I have no idea what to expect from this team. Like y'all said, this could be titled with 60-plus wins, or this could be another first-round exit. I have no idea, because there's no recent history to go on to see this team can reach its full potential. Let's talk. Full potential. Ben Simmons is your point guard, facilitating everything, then locking down people like Giannis and Embiid at the other end, while Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant go off. Joe Harris gets healthy and spaces the floor. So too, you have a bevy of role players that fits around this team and goes on to win a title because Ben Simmons kind of fixes the holes that they have in terms of playmaking and defense. Have two legit superstar scorers. But then on the other end, you have a situation where this team does not have any culture to speak of. So you have one superstar who first demanded a trade, then said, fire the head coach and the general manager. You have another superstar who finds every single reason not to play basketball, whether it is his sister's birthday party, whether it is him taking a walk with his Indian tribes, whether it is a situation where he feels entering Boston that the juju needs to be fixed, whether it's his stance of being a voice for the voiceless during the pandemic, or it is simply injury, because we seem to forget that Kyrie Irving is a very, very injury-prone player. Like, then Ben Simmons and his mental health, or it's a situation with his back, or he just doesn't want to play basketball. He can't face the fact that he is not a like person on the court from the fans' perspective. Like, you mentioned it, Steve Nash, not a good coach, probably not deserving of getting his coaching job. And then you look at the situation where the culture of this team is so bad. Kenny Atkinson no longer wanted a part of this team. Neither did Mike D'Antoni. Neither did Amari Stoudemire. You have chased away 3 respectable coaches in successive seasons from around this team. This is a team with a terrible culture. What is the culture of the Brooklyn Nets? Can anyone tell me? No one knows.
Injuries.
Injuries, yeah.
Inconsistency, disappointment.
Who is the face of this franchise? Who is the leader of this team in the locker room and out of the locker room? Who controls the court? Who is the voice of this scream? No one knows. This team does not have a culture whatsoever. So like the both of you said, while the ceiling is probably a title/60-win team, it is closer to a team that is going to flame out of the first round yet again, because when things go south, and in every single season, something goes south, who is that guy that you're going to look to for leadership? Who's going to stand up in your locker room? Who's going to speak up? It's not Kevin Durant. It's not Kyrie Irving. It's not Ben Simmons. It's not Steve Nash. There is not that guy. Is it going to be Patty Mills? Like, are you going to look at a
Royce
guy?
O'Neal?
Like, are you at 2 dudes who are not even starters as the voices of your locker room? This team lacks any sort of identity, any sort of culture. Like, let's talk about identity. What is this team's offensive identity? What's its defensive identity? We have no clue. The coach doesn't know. The star players don't know. The role players don't know. The management doesn't know. Like, this is a train wreck just waiting to happen all over again. And you know what? Initially, it sounded bad when Adam said this is a 45-win team. But I have to agree with both you and TV. This team, there is nothing that is telling me from a culture perspective, from a leadership perspective, from any sort of direction that the Brooklyn Nets are a serious title contender. And before we hop, I'll let y'all Adam finish it up.
For me, I'm gonna say is that if it does go south quickly, expect maybe Kyrie Irving to get traded before the trade deadline. He could be the biggest name being traded this season. I mean, do they really want to re-sign him to a long-term deal? I mean, he's a free agent after this season. Do you really want to even go into those negotiations? I don't think so. If it gets really bad, expect to see Kyrie Irving not on that team.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You know, we know that they're talented enough to win those 45 games, but I feel like once you're, you know, I just don't think the health. That's really it. I just don't think the health or the coaching is going to be sustainable enough to get this team as far as the fan base has been wanting them to go, as far as the NBA and ESPN want them to go. It's not going to be there, you know, and it showed us time and time again. And I'm not going to take Ben Simmons as an upgrade over James Harden. I understand James Harden wanted to get out, whatever the case is. But if things really would have worked out correctly, Harden, Irving, and Durant would have been your 3. Now you're bringing in a Ben Simmons who's been absolutely crippled against that series with Atlanta in the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, 45 wins feels very, very confident for this team. But, hey, if they shoot a little under, then I don't think anybody's going to be surprised.
So, guys, if you want to continue to hear takes like that from Adam, you can come right back here, #ThisJustIn. Adam, please plug yourself and what you have going on as usual.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So here on this Just In every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Love being back. You guys know I love talking my smack about the good old sports world. And I'm a real estate agent as well, everyone. I know you're on here to watch sports, but if you know anyone looking to buy, sell, or invest, catch me on all social media platforms, buy and sell with AJL. Those are my initials there at the end. And even if it's not in Georgia, wherever it's at, I work with a brokerage that is absolutely nation and worldwide. So I'd love to help people out. Yeah, man, that's what I got going on my end. And, I'll be here on this Just In next week.
Every week. Tomas, we're all looking forward to tomorrow night's ring night in Golden State, and before that, the Boston Celtics and Philadelphia 76ers opening night game. Tomas, plug yourself. How can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me again. Thank you, Joseph, for putting on the show. It's always a blast, and I've worked with Adam before. He has some great basketball takes, some great takes on sports. So you should go definitely. Him being on the show is going to be great for you guys every single week. But for myself, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube as well at TV on Basketball. Tomorrow, I'm going to be having an episode discussing my finals prediction and also kind of discussing like the tiers to which I have each of these contenders. So that should be a really good episode. And yeah, just catch me on all those social media platforms. I've started using TikTok a lot more over these past few months. I think it's a really great platform to put out some content. So if you really want to see me, at my peak, if you want to see me like do some daily content, check out my TikTok. That's where you're going to find me the most. And yeah, weekly episodes on the podcast, and just look out for some more like great NBA talk all season long. We're definitely going to have Justin on the show at some point, and we're going to have guests throughout the entire season, so be on the lookout for that. Again, thank you, Justin, for having me on. It was another great episode.
As usual. Yeah, you can find me eventually on TV, but if you really want me and you want Adam every Monday, right here, #ThisJustIn. We're on YouTube, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, but if you want short form content, then you can hit Instagram. You can find us on Twitter. You can also find us on Facebook. #ThisJustIn. Please put in the hashtag. None of us want those cold takes from Max Kellerman. You want the original, just this just in. So put in that hashtag. So for TV, for Adam, I am the Justin of the #ThisJustIn. Neil as well, but he's a Lakers fan and he has to suffer through Russell Westbrook for another season before he eventually leaves. So everybody enjoy ring night and opening tip off. Wherever you go, catch an NBA game, this season. I will try my best, and tune in again next week, Monday. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
See you guys.
Peace out.
I know that after tonight, you don't have to look up at the stars. No. I
Come take a look at my dream world.
Tonight, you don't have to look up at the stars.
Chat. If you wanna come get it, then come for it. I'm so clean, my kick's nice. I'm Chuck Norris. Minute made the beat bounce, had to jump on it. Run for it, run. Gump Forrest Gump like hollow pumps. You gotta jump, no trouble, no double. I got a stun. You don't have to look up at the stars. Make one wish. You're looking at the